Voldemort did not fear death the way ordinary people fear it. Ordinary people fear death because they love life, because there are people and experiences and mornings that matter enough to make the idea of their ending feel like loss.
The fear of death is, in most people, inseparable from an attachment to being alive. Tom Riddle feared death differently. He feared it not because life was full of things he loved, but because existence was the precondition for power, and power was the only thing that gave his life its shape. Without existence, there was nothing, not loss, but absolute erasure, the annihilation of the only thing he had ever truly valued, himself. So he pursued immortality with the total commitment of someone for whom nothing else mattered. He split his soul, he hid the pieces, he made himself, in his own reckoning, impossible to permanently destroy, and in doing so, he did not save himself from death. He destroyed everything that made life worth protecting in the first place. The logic of the Horcrux. A Horcrux is created by committing murder and using the resulting rupture in the soul to encase a fragment of it in an external object. The logic seems sound on its surface. If part of your soul exists outside your body can be destroyed without your soul being fully extinguished. Death becomes technically impossible as long as the Horcrux survives. You have made yourself untethered from mortality. What the logic misses is what splitting the soul actually costs. The soul, in the framework the films inherit from Dumbledore's explanations, is not simply the seat of consciousness. It is the organ of human connection, the part of a person capable of love, of grief, of genuine relationship with other people. It is what makes a person more than a collection of appetites and calculations. When you split it, you do not divide your capacity for survival. You diminish your capacity for being human. Voldemort made 7 Horcruxes. He split his soul 7 times. Each split required a murder. Each murder required a willingness to end another person for the sake of his own continuity. And each act of that willingness carved away another piece of whatever remained in him that could have made existence worth preserving. By the time we encounter the fully restored Voldemort in the graveyard, he has been performing this surgery on himself for 50 years. The person who stands in that graveyard is not the same person who was afraid of dying as a boy. He is something that was once a person, progressively stripped of its humanity in the service of never-ending survival. What he looked like when he came back. In the graveyard scene, the scene that anchors the entire question of what immortality cost Voldemort, his physical appearance is itself an argument. He is barely human. White, hairless, flat-faced, with slitted nostrils and eyes that register cold intelligence rather than any recognizable human feeling. He moves with a kind of deliberate precision that is more reptilian than personal. He inspects his restored hands as though they are tools being evaluated for functionality. This is not simply a creative choice about how a villain should look. It is the physical record of what decades of soul-splitting did to Tom Riddle's body and face. The connection between inner life and outward appearance is explicit in this world. Dumbledore says directly that Voldemort's appearance has been distorted by his choices, that the monstrous exterior is an accurate reflection of what his interior has become. There are glimpses of Tom Riddle as a young man, in the diary, in Dumbledore's pensive memories, and he is strikingly handsome, dark-haired, sharp-featured, intensely magnetic. He knew how to perform warmth even then, though it was always a performance. But the face was still recognizably human, still capable of the expressions that signal internal life. The creature in the graveyard has none of that. The face does not perform, it calculates. The eyes move with intelligence, but register nothing resembling feeling. He is present in the scene, the way a very dangerous animal is present, aware, assessing, entirely focused on what is in front of him, and entirely indifferent to anything that has no immediate bearing on what he wants. Immortality gave him back his body, but the body it gave back was the body his choices had made, a body in which 50 years of soul-splitting had left their marks on the surface as clearly as they left them inside. The inability to understand what defeated him. The most revealing consequence of what immortality did to Voldemort's mind is not in how he looks or moves. It is in a single repeated failure of comprehension. He cannot understand why his killing curse did not kill Harry as a baby. He investigates it, studies it, spends 14 years of incorporeal existence trying to work out what went wrong. He gathers information, consults ancient magic, considers every technical possibility. He arrives back at his body with a theory about the blood protection Lily's sacrifice left in Harry and a plan to absorb it by using Harry's blood in the restoration ritual. But he never arrives at the actual answer. Because the actual answer is love, a mother's specific absolute refusal to step aside. And love is something Voldemort's split and diminished soul cannot process as a real force. He can identify it as a variable he has failed to account for. He cannot feel its weight. He cannot understand why it would be stronger than any spell he knows, because understanding that would require a capacity for feeling he systematically destroyed in himself over 50 years of murder. Dumbledore tells Harry this directly. He says Voldemort's greatest weakness is that he cannot conceive of the power of love because he has never felt it and has made himself incapable of feeling it. The Immortality Project, the Horcruxes, the soul-splitting, the progressive self-dehumanization in pursuit of endless survival did not just damage Voldemort. It removed from him the one thing that would have allowed him to understand the enemy in front of him. He made himself immortal, and in doing so, made himself permanently incapable of understanding what defeated him. The blindness was built into the method of survival, the followers he kept, and the loyalty he could not buy. Voldemort's Death Eaters do not follow him out of love. Some follow out of ideological alignment, people like Bellatrix Lestrange, who genuinely share his views on blood purity and find in his cause a framework for their own cruelty. Some follow out of ambition, people who see his rise as an opportunity for their own advancement. Some follow out of fear, people who made the calculation that being inside the Death Eaters was safer than being outside them. None of them follow out of genuine, freely given loyalty to him as a person. Voldemort does not notice this distinction because he does not value the distinction. He does not want people to love him. Love would require him to feel something in return, and feeling things in return is a vulnerability he has systematically eliminated. What he wants is compliance, obedience, usefulness. His Death Eaters are tools, organized by their capacity to serve his purposes, and when they fail those purposes, they are punished or discarded. The consequence of this becomes catastrophic at the end. When Voldemort's power begins to fail, when the outcome of the battle becomes unclear, his followers start to make individual calculations. Narcissa Malfoy lies to his face in the forest to protect her son. Draco Malfoy hesitates at a crucial moment. Death Eaters flee rather than fight to death for a cause they were never genuinely committed to. Contrast this with Harry's side. Ron and Hermione are still there at the end, not because they were coerced, not because of ideology, not because of calculation about which side was winning, because of Harry, because of years of genuine relationship and freely given loyalty. Because love, unlike fear, does not run a cost-benefit analysis every time conditions change. Voldemort's Immortality Project required him to eliminate the capacity for genuine connection. And the absence of genuine connection meant that when the moment of crisis came, he stood essentially alone, surrounded by people who served him and not one who would die for him.
The obsession that replaced strategy. Voldemort is brilliant. This is not in question across the films. His intelligence is portrayed consistently and seriously. He is a master of legilimency, an extraordinary duelist, a wizard of genuine and formidable power who constructed a plan for immortality that partially worked for decades. And yet, his handling of Harry Potter is a catalogue of strategic failures that a less brilliant person, operating from a more intact psychology, might have avoided. He chose to act on the prophecy, to target the specific child it described, when the most rational response to a prophecy about a child who might one day pose a threat would have been to leave that child alone and deny the prophecy its subject. He created Harry as his nemesis through his own terror of the possibility. He returned to his body through a ritual that required Harry's blood, specifically, magically necessary, and in doing so, strengthened the very protection he was trying to neutralize. The blood in his veins became the reason the protection persisted. He literally incorporated his own weakness into himself in an attempt to overcome it. He used Harry's wand brother as his primary wand, ensuring a priori incantatem connection that Harry could exploit. He obsessed over the Elder Wand as a solution to the Harry problem without fully working out the chain of ownership. He was so convinced that power was the answer. More power, better power, the most powerful wand in existence, that he could not think clearly about the actual nature of the problem. These are not the errors of an unintelligent person. They are the errors of a person whose intelligence is operating inside a severely damaged emotional architecture. The soul-splitting, the Immortality project, the progressive self-dehumanization, all of it produced a mind that could calculate brilliantly within the frameworks it understood and was completely unable to account for anything that fell outside those frameworks. Immortality did not sharpen Voldemort's mind, it narrowed it. It locked him inside a set of assumptions about power and survival that became increasingly rigid as his soul became increasingly fragmented, until he was one of the most powerful wizards alive and also one of the least capable of understanding the world he was trying to control.